Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was released in Japan on November 21st, 1992, and in North America and Europe on November 24th. It was developed by the Sonic team members in collaboration with Sega Technical Institute, and was then published by Sega for the Sega Mega Drive. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is one of the Sonic games that I would consider as a standout title in the Hedgehog franchise, and alongside this I'd also say it's a classic of the profound 16-bit era. A remake of Sonic 2 was released for phone in late 2013, and personally for me, the Sonic 2 mobile version is the best released port out for this game, even now. Being filled to the brim with a wide variety of enhancements, examples being widescreen support, Knuckles as a playable character, time and boss attack modes, now being rendered in full 60 frames per second, a fully remastered soundtrack, it restores Hidden Palace Zone as an optional secret level, and even allows players to come across items found within Sonic 3. The only issue with this port is that it's on mobile. Ew. But not even this seems to be a problem now, because thanks to modders online, both Sonic 1 and 2 have been decompiled and can now be played on PC in full, widescreen HD glory. But with this said, I'll still be reviewing the Sega Mega Drive version. I just felt like this was worth mentioning. The graphics in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 were a significant leap from its predecessor. The levels are far more colourful and filled with detailed backgrounds that showcase the capabilities of the Sega Mega Drive. The character sprites are larger, more expressive, and exhibit smoother animations, and not to mention that the fire effect also looks levels more intricate than in the original. This all helps contribute to a far more visually appealing experience compared to what was offered previously. This game's design perfectly captures the essence of each zone, and the music in each area is incredible. Quite a bit more superior to Sonic 1 in my opinion. Long story short, players control Sonic as he attempts to stop Dr. Robotnik harming innocent animals and from stealing the Chaos Emeralds to power his space station. The concept is the same as in the first game, however this time we have a partner. Miles Prower, or if you're a normal person, you'll probably call him Tails. He's a new side character introduced in Sonic 2. His origins here are quite simple really. Since he was a baby, he's always looked up to Sonic as an idol, going as far as to chase after Sonic. Sonic allows the Fox to spectate him on his adventures and also likes to, in an attempt to show off, leave Tails behind in a burst of super speed. The player can choose to play as either Sonic or Tails, or even have both of them. They can play as Sonic, while Tails is controlled by a second player or an AI. Both characters share the same abilities. The core gameplay of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 remains true to its predecessor, focusing on high-speed platforming and exploration. Sonic's signature spin dash move was introduced in this installment, allowing players to gain momentum quickly and speed through levels. Sonic 2 has 11 zones, most of which are divided into 2 acts. The only one that has more than 2 zones had to be the worst act in the game. Fuck you, Metropolis Act 3. The main objective is to finish the acts in less than 10 minutes, otherwise you'll be faced with a death. This is in form of a time up. The player can discover numerous rings in these acts, and these rings act as the main form of defense for the playable character. A character will survive if they are struck whilst carrying at least one ring, but in turn they will forfeit all of their rings. The playable character will however lose a life, or if they run out of lives, receive a game over if they are struck without rings. Obtaining all 7 Chaos Emeralds by clearing all of the special stages will unlock a new feature, Sonic's ability to change into Super Sonic. The problem with this form is that at least 50 rings need to be collected in order for you to transform. Super Sonic is invincible to enemies, but he can still die by drowning, getting crushed, falling into bottomless pits, or running out of time. Which, when you're moving at an increased speed, you have a little bit more chance of getting crushed by obstacles. I personally don't think the execution of this form is great, but the music is good, the collection of the Chaos Emeralds adds depth to the gameplay, and the design of Golden Sonic is fucking awesome. In Sonic the Hedgehog 2, there are 7 special stages. When the player has collected at least 50 rings and hits a star post, a red halo of stars will briefly float above it, which then they can jump into this, getting a special stage. When I was a kid, I thought this was great. I loved playing through these. For the time, it was incredibly impressive. Special stages track the player from behind whilst they run through a three-dimensional half-pipe course filled with rings and bombs. A set number of rings must be collected to pass through 3 checkpoints, and with doing this the player will eventually obtain a Chaos Emerald. With replaying through this game, god do these sections show their age. The poor 3D depth makes reacting to what obstacles and rings coming to you hard to judge, and with whatever rings Tails collects, they can easily be lost. With this said though, the mobile version strongly enhances the loading zones of incoming objects and makes the 3D effect less jaunting for the eyes. But even so, both parts are more appeasing for the eye than the special stages in Sonic 1. These still make me feel uneasy to this day. The level design in Sonic 2 is outstanding. Each zone presents a unique set of challenges, from navigating loops and corkscrews in a variety of different zones to managing underwater sections in Aquatic Ruin Zone. The game does an excellent job of maintaining a balance between speed and platforming elements. Emerald Hill Zone is the first zone in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It is a tropical area with green meadows and rich waterfalls. This is a brilliant first entry for the game, and this segment is simply beautiful. The music is also impeccable too, completely destroying most of what was seen in Sonic 1. Chemical Plant Zone is next, and this area has some of the best music to ever grace the franchise. A heavily industrialized area in a large city that contains pools of Megamac. Chemical Plant Zone is a massive chemical factory that belongs to Dr. Robotnik. This is where Sonic is the fastest we had ever seen him. So fast in fact that the screen can't even keep up with him. Following Chemical Plant is Aquatic Ruin Zone. This stage is set within a series of Roman-like ruins on the outskirts of a forest. However, what you'll most likely be seeing is the water, considering it's far easier to fall to the bottom. Casino Night Zone is the 4th zone in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This stage is so neatly designed, taking place in a huge casino city during nighttime. Numerous sightings in the background have an electric sort of look to them. The flashing colours and great detail seen in this zone helps make it one of the most enjoyable in the game. Sections in the zone's level design are heavily based on pinball tables. As such, there are a huge amount of halls to utilise the playable characters as living pinballs, and it just makes so much sense. The player has to curl up into a ball and then enter the pinball tables in order to progress in the zone. Next is Hilltop Zone. This stage is good, but nothing more really. The music here is enjoyable and the level setting is decent, being located high above the clouds of West Side Island and also being atop a mountain range. Mystic Cave Zone is the 6th zone, and as the name probably suggests, the location is a huge dark cave. The setting and music are still pretty decent. The idea of camouflage levers that bring out hidden bridges or open up doorways is a pretty nifty touch. But these levels go on longer than necessary in my opinion. It doesn't help that the acts in this zone are relatively slow paced. After this comes Oil Ocean Zone, one of the most disappointing levels in the game. The setting is great, the music isn't good, and the level as a whole is very slow paced, with having the oil at the bottom be very awkward to navigate through, often requiring backtracking and constant jumping to exit out of. Metropolis Zone is the 8th zone in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's easily the worst section of the game. This was where most of my game overs were spent, and this was all due to bullshit enemy placement. It's a real shame because the mechanics featured in this level are pretty fucking neat. Running through constant loop-de-loops is sweet, and progressing from tightening a bolt by running on it in place is clever as hell. It's only a shame that on this, star enemies are unfairly placed, making this cool and innovative idea unfun to encounter. Not to mention that you need to be wary of the speed that you pick up. This is because these fuckers don't give you enough time to react. Not by a long shot. It wouldn't be as bad if this feature wasn't a zone that featured 3 acts. The only one, in fact, that features 3 acts. I don't know what Sega was thinking to give this level specifically a 3rd zone, cause it's bad. It's also probably worth mentioning that at the end of each zone's last act, a boss fight with Eggman occurs, and this one sucks. The music's good in this area though. Sky Chase Zone is kind of the 9th zone. It takes place in the sky and seems to be the only act. This is another one of the worst levels in the game, with Sonic the Hedgehog being profoundly known for his immense speed. This isn't quite the idea I get when I think of that. A slow, auto-scroll level which is only made difficult for the reason that enemies hit you when you're on the tornado. That's the name of the aeroplane. I say this knowing very well that this would obviously be the case, but when I tried to jump on an enemy, then get caught by the tornado, damage is then dealt to the player because you can make contact to the enemy while standing. It's bullshit. But again, the music's decent and the setting is also good. Wing Fortress Zone is within the segment that follows Sky Chase Zone. The setting and music here are both rather enjoyable, and the level is not anywhere near as annoying as last time. Sure, the platforming in this zone at times can be a little bit tedious, with many opportunities being allowed for the player to fall into bottomless pits. But if any mistakes were made, this would be due to the player's lack of skill. In my playthrough, it was probably made easier by the fact that I went supersonic, but the fact still remains. DevEx Zone is the final level in the game, and this level is great. The boss and final boss music are fantastic, and even both the fights are rather enjoyable. Once the mech is taken down, the Death Egg begins to explode, but Sonic manages to survive by hurling himself out of an airlock into space. Looking like the end for Sonic as he descends through the stratosphere of his world, Tails appears and Sonic safely flies beside the tornado as supersonic. What a nice touch. As a little bonus, Hidden Palace Zone is a zone which was mysteriously removed late in the development of the Sega Mega Drive Sonic 2. But upon the mobile re-release, the stage was brought to life, and rightfully so. The music, whilst being average at best, is made up for with the level design. The setting of this zone is stunning, and unlike Metropolis Zone, the enemy placement is quite scarce. This zone actually allows Sonic to utilize speed and platforming. The sound design in this game is incredible. The music found in Sonic 2 complements the fast-paced gameplay perfectly, with tunes that match the tone of each level and enhance the overall experience. These songs are catchy and help increase the interest of each zone. Alongside this, the game features distinct sound effects, from the satisfying ring collection sound to Sonic's spin attack and the powering up of the spin dash. These effects contribute to the feedback players receive whilst interacting with this game's world. The music and sound design create an emotional connection with the player. They evoke a sense of excitement during high-speed sections, tension during boss fights, and nostalgia for those both familiar with the game and the franchise. The only real problem one could argue with the soundtrack found in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is that players might find certain tracks loop a little bit too often within levels, potentially leading to a feeling of repetition over extended gameplay sessions. I don't feel this way, I fucking love the music, but the argument is there. The visuals in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 are bright, colourful, and full of life. Each level is distinctively designed with vibrant hues that contribute to the game's energetic atmosphere. The game showcases a wide range of environments in each of these levels, from lush green forest sections to futuristic industrial areas. The imaginative level design enhances the sense of progression and discovery, which most definitely keeps players engaged. The character animations are smooth and fluid, allowing for a seamless transition between both Sonic and Tails' movements. An animation which gives evidence to a high level of detail would be the idle animation. Sonic grows impatient and starts tapping his foot. Shortly after this, he looks at his watch, and if the player waits long enough in Sonic CD, Sonic will simply just jump off the level. Sega's clearly always been good with Sonic's idle animations. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is praised for its seamless controls, exhilarating sense of speed, and imaginative level design, and it's clear to see why. Its introduction of Tails and multiplayer mode expanded the gameplay possibilities, enhancing the overall experience. Even with some of the issues presented in Sonic 2, the combination of fast-paced platforming, memorable zones, and engaging gameplay, they all help to weigh out the negatives. And with doing so, this makes Sonic the Hedgehog 2 a beloved entry in the Sonic series. And with this said, my final rating for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is an 8.4 out of 10. Thank you for watching.